You know, the day you walk out the door from your career, you will no longer have that identity that you spent 30 to 40 years creating.
And if you try to hang on to that identity, you're in for a rude awakening. You're not going to be able to spend the next 30 years of your life living in the past with that old identity.
It will be almost impossible to move forward with this phase of your life if everything you hang on to keeps getting older and older.
Right. Today, we're going to share with you the 3 phases that you're going to go through for transitioning into your new identity. And at the end of this today, we're going to give you 3 tips on how to start the process.
You know, we spent over 40 years building who we are.
Yeah, you know, for me, I was in a family business, so I was an owner, I was the CEO, I had a good salary, I had the nice car, the house, the country club, I had a wonderful family, I did a lot of volunteering, and I worked so hard at creating this image, this...
You're so fancy.
Oh, really?
Well, you made it sound fancy.
Yeah, it really wasn't, though. But my brand, you know, when I was
Right.
out selling insurance... you know, I'd
Well,
worked
your
hard
name
on
was
who
on the
I
door,
was. Name
right?
was on the door,
so
yeah.
that made a big difference. Conversely, you know, I worked for a Fortune 200 company. You know, I had the title and accomplishments of myself and my team. You know, I always was working on financial goals. And then at home, I was supporting my girls and their education and their athletics.
I mean, there wasn't anyone there's no woman that I know that was able to, I don't even know if the word is balance because you don't like it.
I don't like balance.
But you had this great corporate career and you never missed one of your girls' sporting events all through high school.
You know, and some of that, you know, was part of my identity,
It
right?
was.
Like I had the capacity to help and give to everyone endlessly and always say yes
Right.
to almost everything. So that was the identity I built for over 30 years.
And it's weird. We did a YouTube video called Last Day of Work, which you should watch because we talk a lot about this transition of, oh my goodness, Monday morning, you know, we're not going to the office anymore.
Right.
It's a really tough change.
And really, in the research that we did, 2 things happen after you leave your career and you enter this phase of retirement, right? So let's say your finances are in order and your health
Right.
is pretty good. So you've got those 2 secure. The things that you lose is structure
Right.
and your identity.
That's right.
So what we'll talk a little bit about today is the phases that you go through as you
Right.
lose those 2 things, and then we'll focus on identity.
You know, my dad was pretty funny. When he retired at 65 and walked out the door, he immediately went and got business cards. And it said right on, it had his name, his address, his phone number, and his title was retired. And I said to him, Dad, that's not a title, that's a phase.
But you know,
And-
it's natural to want to feel relevant, right? And that's
Well,
how he felt relevant.
It's true.
So, but it wasn't sustainable because
It wasn't. And he, as we go through these phases, he's a great example of someone who could not get out of letting go of the old identity.
well, we've
and
all
it actually
met,
killed him. I mean,
well,
he just...
yeah. But
it
we've all
really-
met people like
We have,
that.
we
So,
have.
you know, people,
And we don't want that for you or for us.
No, but there are people who all their stories go back 30 years, and there's this gap between what they last accomplished and where they are today.
Yeah.
So
People would ask my dad, what do you do? Well, I used to do this, I
Right.
used to do that, I used to do this. And you and I hardly ever now talk about our careers. It only ended 2 years ago, but they lasted 40 years.
Right. Well, mine
So,
didn't last 40
no.
years, but
Yeah.
33. So.
We're focused on who we are today.
And our new life, right?
Right,
And the
right.
new roles that were coming
Right.
in our life. But, you know, without reflecting on your career and how your career prepared you for this phase of
Right,
life,
right.
you really can't move forward.
Right.
So let's jump into the 3-step process for creating a new identity and the phases that you go through. We did a lot of research
Right.
and we did a lot of interviews to pull this together, but we also read some really great books.
And we found wonderful books on this. The one that sticks with us that we give to a lot of our clients, it's called The Way of Transition by William Bridges. And we will put that in the footnotes in the video so you can get it. It's a fabulous book. It's so easy to read, and it just brings such clarity to the problem. There are 3 phases in this transition. The first one is letting go of the old you. Then you end up in this neutral zone where you're not really sure
Right.
where you're going to go and what it's going to look like. And then there's the new beginning. And we're in the new beginning, and it's amazing. We absolutely love it. But it wasn't easy for us.
No, it definitely wasn't easy. So as you're transitioning and you're transitioning your identity, because remember we said there's two big things, if you've got your health and your finances set, structure and lack of structure, and
Right.
identity are the two that hit you in this transition phase. So the phase one in transition that Mark referenced, letting go. It is important to first reflect on your career and your old identity, your highs and your lows and your wins. And for me, it was important to also reflect on my family identity.
It was, and as we listed, what our identities were: CEO, owner, corporate executive, mom. That the mom part stays, but the corporate executive goes away. The owner of the business goes away. The title CEO goes away. So you have to relish in the fact you had that, but you've got to find a way to not be that. You're not going to be an ex-CEO. You're not going to be an ex-mom, an ex-corporate executive, right? Otherwise, you're stuck. We have this great thing that we talk about, the dash in the tombstone. The day you're born and the day you died.
Well, we didn't create that.
We
That's
didn't.
Something
we didn't.
that's been
but
discussed.
we love to talk about
Yeah.
it. But the dash is everything you did in your life.
Right.
Now, clearly, my goal is to live to 100. And when I'm 100 and people are at my funeral, I do not want to be remembered as this 38-year family business owner, corporate, CEO of my family business. That's done. That is not what I want to be remembered.
Well, you don't want there to be that gap. So this first phase, this reflection, right?
Right.
The transitioning phase, it's really for you to kind of celebrate who you
Yeah.
were and what you achieved and
Right.
what relationships you created, right?
Right.
And it brings forward all your knowledge and stories and experiences. And it's important to recognize that as you transition into the middle phase.
Right. So this gift that we all have, this gift of knowledge, stories, and experience is so valuable to reapply in a form of wisdom sharing, which is
Right.
what we're doing now. And that's all of you have some component of that you can figure out. You just have to spend time reflecting, like Jody said. Now, all of you are going to have a different reason why you retired and a different mindset.
Right. And it depends on how you got to retirement, right? Was it voluntary? Were you downsized? Were you forced out? But remember, all of this that we're talking about is in that first phase of letting go, right? Acknowledging, pulling forward, celebrating, and then letting go. And that's where you have the opportunity to then move to the second phase, which is, if you thought the first one was messy and
hard,
and
it's
emotional
hard.
and hard, phase two, this neutral zone that William Bridges talks about, is messy and it's full of regret. Did I retire too early? Am I worried? What am I going to do all day?
Yeah, there's panic and fear, things like sadness. How about lack of security? You had a job to go to every single day. Now you don't. You feel insecure. What am I going to do all day? There's no structure,
And this
right?
is really where the lack of structure, Harvard Business Review did a great study about people moving to retirement, and this messy transition phase, one of the real pain points is lack of structure.
Right.
What am I going to do all
Right.
day? When I wake up in the morning, what do I do? How do I go about it? And how do I not let one day just roll into the next?
And then there's bad habits.
That's right. And
Bad
make sure
habits.
you don't secure a lot
Drinking
of bad
too
habits.
much, not exercising. I mean, there's so much that can go wrong. But you can really get caught up in the emotions too.
Right.
I remember after reading this book, I had this huge aha moment because my messy neutral zone, it lasted 5 years for me. I didn't feel right. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was going through all these different emotions. We were talking about it. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to feel this way.
Right.
So it validated for me that this anxiety I have and this fear and this insecurity and lack of focus is real and it's okay.
Right.
But the idea is to move yourself into phase 3.
Right, because you've gone through the letting go, you kind of went into neutral chaos.
Right.
And really the next phase is the new beginning.
Right.
How are you going to evolve and change? How are you going to create a new vision for yourself? And as silly as creating a vision for yourself may sound, if you can visualize it, you will get there.
That's right.
And you can only let go of the old when you have something new to jump into.
And that's probably the most critical thing that we can say today. To write this down. The only way you can let go of your old identity is if you have a new one to move into. You know, in our Your Retirement Game Plan course, we have the 5 pillars: physical wellness, mental wellness, relationships, spouse-partner relationship, and wisdom sharing. And we take people through the process of getting a vision in each of those areas. And when you start to do that, you start to get some clarity, right?
Right, absolutely. And you break it down, and then clarity comes. And then you can complete the restructuring of your life. You know, retirement transformed us into like mentors and better family members. And for us, we now have a vision for how we want to live. And we've gotten through that phase of transition.
Yeah, and it's been 7 years we've worked on this. We've been officially retired for 2.5, I guess. And it's evolving and changing, but it's great because we get up in the morning, we know what we need to do. We get to spend time with folks like you and do these videos and this teaching, and we love it.
And you know, for both of us, for Mark and I, we started to prioritize different things in that new phase.
Right.
You know, again, creating that new identity. You know, we became long life learners. We started jumping into hobbies that we weren't very good at.
Right.
And, you know, either mastering them or moving on. We're
doing a lot of travel now.
Still love to travel.
We love to travel and leisure time. We were just talking this morning about, you know, this weekend, because we don't have any company, we're just going to chill. We're going to treat it like a weekend.
Anybody that knows you knows that we are not just going to chill.
Might do some yard work.
So we talked about the 3 phases of transition, and it's important to acknowledge them. Like Mark said, when he acknowledged where he was and put a name on it, it made it easier for him to work through. Now we want to share with you the 3 steps to begin the process of the transition.
And the first one is simple. You've got to identify what phase you're in. Are you in the letting go phase, like you just retired, but you can't let go of your identity? Or have you actually moved into or maybe you're 5 years from retirement, or maybe you moved into the neutral zone, but you have to get from the first to the second, or maybe you're in the third phase.
The new beginning.
New beginning. And if you are, congratulations. But you have to figure out where you are so you can figure out what to do next.
Right. And the second step would be create that vision for where you want to go. What do you want to do with your physical state, your mental state, your relationships, your spouse-partner relationship, and how do you want to share all that wisdom that you built that built your first identity? What
kind of retirement do you want to have? Just start with that. And if you're married and you have a spouse, just start brainstorming. What do we want to do? Is it travel? Is it this? Is it learning, going back to college? You've got to start putting pen to paper so you start getting some clarity. And really, the best way to do this, the third thing to do, is find a partner to go through this with. You know, I'm blessed and fortunate that Jody and I are doing this together, and we love doing it together, and we're growing together. We're getting closer, right? Most days. But if your spouse isn't someone you want to do it with, you can find a friend, or
old business colleague, a college friend,
but find somebody, so you can just go through this thing.
And just remember, it won't be easy, and it wasn't easy for us. But working with someone in the same place will make it much easier for you to acknowledge the transition, let go of the old identity, find that messy middle, that neutral zone, and then create your vision and really jump into it with both feet.
So we hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, please share it with your friends. And also, please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below.
And if you're looking for a community, join our free Facebook community. The link is in the notes below.
Thanks for listening, and we'll look forward to being with you again soon.